Welcome to the Be Nice podcast, where we will dive into conversations that help us recognize, understand, and take action when it comes to mental health and suicide prevention. I'm Christy Buck, your host. The Be Nice action plan is simple. Notice, invite, challenge, and empower. 4 steps that can change lives. Together, we'll share real-life stories and insights, tools to break down the stigma around mental health, and inspire changes in your community. Our guest on this episode is a great friend of ours, Jenney-Ayn Gill, a longtime advocate of Be Nice and top team captain for our upcoming walk, Stomp Out Stigma, Walk for Mental Health. I would like to invite you to find out more at our website, benice.org. But before we dive into our episode, we want to make sure that we discuss take care of yourself when you're listening to anything surrounding mental health, suicide prevention. If at any point you in your life feel like you are in a crisis situation, please use the hotline 988. Also available is a text line 741-741. The myth buster for today's episode is a myth that oftentimes people feel that you can just get over the loss of someone, especially when someone who dies by suicide. So today's myth is losing someone to suicide doesn't really affect your own mental health. What we know is that losing a loved one to suicide is a major risk factor for mental health struggles. Survivors of suicide are at a higher risk for depression, PTSD, and suicidal thoughts and behaviors. According to research, people who lose someone close to them to suicide are 65% more likely to attempt suicide themselves. The stigma, the guilt, and isolation often follow suicide loss can deepen emotional pain. But here's the hope, and we always want to leave you with hope. Support systems, having therapy, and open conversation can significantly reduce your risk. You are not alone, and help is available. Remember, the number one reason that people do not seek help is stigma. If we can create more awareness, again, having the knowledge, and then gains the confidence to take action is extremely important. Myth busting can be life-changing. So again, joining us today is Jenney-Ayn Gill, a longtime supporter of Be Nice, the number one fundraiser for us at Stomp Out Stigma every year. I'm in the lead right now. Anyway, so Jenney-Ayn, can you tell us a little bit about your experience and today why we have brought you on to really bust that stigma?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Christy, and everyone over at the MHF and Be Nice for inviting me to join you guys on this podcast. It's an honor, and I've been looking forward to it. So a little bit about my background and experiences with mental health and losing someone to suicide. My dad passed away by suicide February 23rd of 2015, so just over 10 years ago. And it was definitely something that my family and I, our closest friends and everyone around us never imagined happening to us. It's one of those days that you always think about, and it's always kind of in the back of your mind. Luckily, with the people that are surrounding us, it makes things a little bit easier each day. But it's definitely, like Christy said, it's challenging. It's not something that just goes away. You don't just learn to live with it. Things will pop up each day that make you think back to that person you lost, or think about events moving forward in the future. And since my dad has passed away, my older brother, Brad, he is actually part of the Mental Health Foundation, and he's on the board of directors. And after my dad passed, he got connected with you guys and started to get to know what you guys were about, and the Be Nice motto and what it stands for. And then as a family, so my mom and my 3 brothers and I, we have really just jumped right into Be Nice and MHF, participated in the Be Nice walk for, I believe this is our ninth consecutive year. It was just that first year we didn't walk. We were still, I don't even know if we had heard of you guys at that point. But as soon as we did and we made that connection, we have been there every year. Even through the COVID year, the virtual walk, we participated in that as well. And Be Nice. It's just it's an awesome organization. And it's something that now that we are knowledgeable about, we are able to share it with so many people. Just, hearing other people's stories, we've passed, your guys' information along to them. And, just whether it be someone at the grocery store, you hear them talking about something and you share something, or if we have like our Be Nice hat on or Be Nice bracelet. I also always wear my Be Nice lanyard to work every day. Just as, kind of that constant reminder of, hey, pay attention, notice what's going on. If you notice something different in someone, invite them in to have that conversation. And then, challenge them and yourself, because it's not always easy if you notice, some things different with someone or with yourself, to identify that and be okay with talking about it. But most importantly, just knowing that it is okay to talk about it, whether you're struggling or whether someone around you might be struggling with any type of mental health. And sometimes, warning signs are, pretty out there and we can see them pretty clearly. But then in the case of my dad, there weren't, we didn't really notice any changes in his behavior and daily life and that kind of thing. So that made it, come to an extra shock for myself, my brothers, my mom, his parents, sister, and all of our closest friends.
Did you tell us something about your dad while we were that step notice, the N? It starts off with noticing the right and the good. So tell us all the right and the good about your dad.
He was amazing. A one of a kind guy. He was a go-getter, that's for sure. You never really found him, sitting and, doing nothing. He was either working. He was a financial advisor, so he was always out, meeting with clients and different kind of things, helping them out. And he was the type of person that he was always helping other people, supporting those around him. He was always like your go-to guy, to call, to share something exciting or something, sad or any big news or anything like that. But he was also, loved work. He also, some other things that he did. He loved traveling, especially traveling with, the family was a big thing. We very fortunate to go on lots of very unique and special trips with him as a family. And we had a cottage up north on Torch Lake, and we grew up going there and, spending time on the water and skiing and surfing and all of that. And just, the biggest thing was spending time together. And then also being up there and being home with our, family and friends. My dad liked to have people over, whether it's a small get-together, a bigger get-together, and just, socialize with people and, get to know them and see what people are up to and kind of where they're going. But overall, awesome, great man. Definitely still wish, he was here with us today. But we have learned a lot from him, and, my siblings and I have all taken different parts of him, with us as we continue to move forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because oftentimes people don't get to know that good and the right. They only read it, I'll be honest with you, in an obituary. And you sharing that really sheds a lot of light on what a great dad he was, and a good husband and brother and son.
Yeah.
So, we know that men hold a higher suicide rate than women. And oftentimes, that is another piece of information that we need to get out there. What are you doing to invite yourself in? How do you let other people know about your dad? Do you share your story with others? How do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question and an important one, to talk about and just kind of touch base. I personally, talking about it is, helpful for me and therapeutic. even, from right when it happened, if family or friends came in, I would, share that whole day with them, and what happened and how I saw things from my perspective, and just how the news came. And but will you repeat that?
Yeah. How are you able to share your story with others?
Yes.
Because it is oftentimes that's where, it's embarrassment and shame. And we do a lot of trainings. And so at the beginning of a training, oftentimes we say, has anybody ever lost someone to suicide? And the minute one arm goes up, then slowly other arms go up. So share with us. You were,
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's definitely, once you experience it, at first it's something that you feel should be, you just feel as a natural human instinct, that you want to keep quiet. When my dad passed away, my younger brother and I were in high school. I was a senior, my brother was a sophomore in high school. So I remember going back into the school, we just felt like, people had heard, people were kind of looking at us. So at first, it was kind of awkward, for sure. And just, you kind of want to just stay in your own little shell. But throughout the years, and as we've matured and we've, experienced life and that kind of thing, and, reflected on our lives and what my dad has taught us, we've kind of taken his loss to suicide as an opportunity to engage with people, have conversation around suicide and mental health. And then just, like I said, sharing our story with people. And we've done that before, whether, it's something small, or there's also, we've been able to help and talk to other family and friends that have lost someone to suicide. So it's it opens up, a whole nother avenue per se, to connect with people and to have that conversation, and most importantly, letting people know that they're not alone, especially on the survivor side of things. There's so many people that have lost someone to suicide, or struggle with mental health themselves, or potentially have thought about taking their own lives. So like I said, just using, our experience, and it's kind of just a blessing, because even though, we were left, our world was flipped upside down after finding out that my dad had died by suicide. We were just able to take that. And I feel like now my family and I, and I'm sure, our friends as well, we're just so much more comfortable having those conversations with people, or if they start talking about, that stigma around the mental health. But it's like, hey, that's something that if you notice things, we can, be aware of, and we can step in, and we can try and help, help that person, get them the help that they need, or just open that conversation, and see what we can do, and just be present, be there with people, and pay attention to who's around us, and see how we can help.
Love it. The third step of the action plan, obviously, is to challenge stigma, and you will be walking in the walk. Again, we're going to miss Brad this year, yes. I think this podcast is coming out after, so we'll talk about the walk later when we're maybe in a couple months. But that last step, empower, and that's what I love a lot, what you're doing right now. The name of your team, I think, is empowering within itself. Who came up? You let the listeners know what the name of the team is and how you came up with that, because I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our team name for the Stomp Out Stigma Walk is Carry On for Don. From that, obviously, my dad's name was Don. And when we came up with our walk name, and honestly, since he passed, the words carry on have greatly stuck with us. He had left us a note, so that we had that as, kind of a closure piece for us. And at the end of it, he signed it, carry on. So that, brings tears to my eyes for sure.
Me too. Wow.
But so he said, he signed it, carry on, and Don at the end. So that's our biggest thing through everything. Hey, Dad wanted all of us, everyone that he knew, and especially family, whether it be kids, my mom, his wife, and his parents, and sister, just like, you guys can do it, you guys are strong, and carry on. He's not here with us physically, but he's always right there with us, in spirit, and helping us move and navigate throughout life. So the Carry On, and our team name Carry On for Don, actually came from him. So he helped inspire that name, and it's something that we always say, like, hey, carry on. Yep, that's what he wanted us to do. So even if some days are a little more rough and difficult than others, we're there to lean on each other. And we've also all learned from this to, hey, if we're struggling with something, like, reach out. There's people around us that want to support us. And they may not know how to support us, so it's important that we're there to, acknowledge that and, start to reach out and carry on as we move forward.
Absolutely. I love it. And the fact that you all got involved and you come over to West Michigan, when your brother approached you and said, hey, we're going to walk in this walk, because I remember when you showed up and showed up and showed up and showed up, there were so many people that came over. And I think there was a group of students also that came over that year who had just lost a classmate. And so I was connected with some kids from Notre Dame Prep, and I think that even Birmingham Brother Rice, there was a combo of kids. When you all were coming over, what were you anticipating to be a part of, I guess, in that drive over?
Yeah. Our first walk, just 9 years ago, we weren't totally sure, what to expect, what it was about. We had heard a little bit, about it through, Brad, from just getting to know you guys and being part of the team. But yeah, driving over, it's, a couple-hour drive from the east side of the state. And, we kind of remember thinking, having conversation, like, just, honestly, just curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like, how things are set up, who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And also just kind of starting to think about too, like, and eager to learn, like, these people's stories, because every single person that attends the Be Nice walk has been affected and impacted, by mental health, and a lot of people, the loss, by suicide. And it's, so just kind of going over there, you're thinking about all of those things and what it's going to be like. And also thinking, like, we've never, experienced something like this, being surrounded by people who have been affected and stomping out that stigma together. Once we got there, and it started, and, you speak at the beginning, and a couple other board directors, and members of the MHF and Be Nice. And it's probably, actually, I'm not going to say probably, it is one of the most powerful moments, and throughout that whole walk. And you're there, and you just see people continuously filing in, into the parking lot where we start the walk. And, there's people from all walks of life that, come, and they come together, and, you end up talking to other people, meeting them, hearing their stories. And it's just extremely, empowering.
Yep, you got it.
Just to be in a space where every single person knows what you've gone through, whether it's from, years ago, if it's something recent. And, each year we try and bring in, more friends or family, or that one year a family friend, one of their friends from Notre Dame Prep, had died by suicide. And we told them about Be Nice, and they ended up making a team and coming to walk as well.
I love it. So you are an educator, you're a teacher, and do you use the Be Nice action plan, you yourself, not your school, but you in your classroom?
I do. I haven't specifically, named the Be Nice, for them, but I definitely, throughout my teaching, kind of touch on each of those things, noticing, and especially as an educator, you have your 20 to 30 kids in a class at a time, and you really get to know them throughout the school year, and you get to know what their normal is, and then when they come in and it's a rough day for them, or something might have upset them, being able to notice that, because you've built that relationship with them, so that something's different, and then I, as a teacher, I'm always checking in with my kids and seeing how their day is going, having genuine conversations with them, and letting them know that we're at school, they can talk about things, and sometimes it's something little, right? Like you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and it's a rough day, but whatever it is, noticing that, inviting them to have that conversation, or if they're not ready to talk about something yet, letting them know that I'm always here, and then we have other support in the building as well in case they want to talk to someone about something, and yeah, just continuously checking in on them, and making each day the best that it can be for them, depending, everyone's days look different, so.
So, Jenney-Ayn, what are your protective factors? What protects your mental health?
Yeah, that's a big one. And, going back to the Mythbuster earlier, right? People that have been affected by suicide and mental health, it's definitely hard for us. And the biggest thing from my experience is leaning on the people around us. We always said, like, our family and our friends, those are, just amazing people, fortunately, that we have. And just they're like our protection they were there from, the minute they found out that my dad had passed away, and, they're always there, they're checking in with us. And, throughout the years, you see who, the people that are more continuously checking in on you. And we have people that we can, go to and just have those conversations with if it's, a rough day or anything like that. So really, really, our family and friends, and more specifically my mom and my three brothers, we've this has only pulled us closer, which we're very fortunate, because obviously in some situations it can kind of start to pull families apart because it's such a traumatic and just wild experience. It's crazy, but we're super close, and we're always there for each other. And then also kind of my other protective factor, I ride horses and have ridden horses since I was 9. So, just going out to the barn, if it's a rough day or whatever, and even if it's not, just being out there with them, it's kind of my therapy.
Oh, love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking time to be on our podcast. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And, we're sharing stories like Jenney-Ayn and her family. We're going to continue to break down the stigma. We're going to encourage you to notice, invite, challenge, and empower yourself and others when it comes to mental health and suicide prevention. If today's episode resonated with you, I know it did with me, share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget, if you know someone who is struggling, please pass out resources. And one of the best is the 741-741 text line, or call 988. Please visit our website at benice.org to learn about the Be Nice Action Plan, maybe how you can bring it to your school, to your church, to your community, to your place of business. It's an easy 12-minute learn on our website. Until next time, carry on and be nice. It can save a life.